So I'm gonna go through some like general how do you do it type stuff to start. So, ask any questions you have. One thing I found out playing this the first time is that this game really, really utilizes triggered actions. And so you're going to be like spending a lot of your time watching for the triggered actions that your character has to trigger, basically. And each of these characters, if you zoom in on a character, and you all have access to all these characters, so any one of you can click on any of the tokens, make sure, first of all, that you go to the top right of the screen, you hover over the thing that looks like a gear that says My Settings when you hover over it, up above all the chat. Then go to Personalization and Display, and then make sure you have unchecked the box by alphabetically sort token actions. So if you uncheck that, then the token actions will appear across the screen in the following order. You'll have on the left side some initiative buttons, and we'll come back to what those do. Then you have a button that's just kind of your general characteristics as far as your hit points. The H60, for example, in the tactician, they have 60 hit points. B is bloodied, they're bloodied at 30. R is recoveries, they have 10 recoveries. And every recovery they spend, they heal 20 points. They have a speed of 6. They have a size of 1. All of you have a size of 1. That means you're 1 square by 1 square. I think all of you have a weight of 4. That'll come into play if things try to toss you or grab you or move you, etc. I think you all have a reach of 1. And if you have a grapple score listed, it's basically 7 plus your might score. And then it'll also list what your heroic resource is. And this is something you'll be tracking all game. So if you click on your token, the top right field is a gray field, gray circle, and it should have a 0 in it to start. You want to use that field to track your heroic resources, which will come and go during the adventure. For example, on the tactician, you guys can all click his H60 token button, and it'll whisper to you some information. You'll see all the same information that's on the button, plus some more stuff about his heroic resource of focus. And all of your heroic resources are a little bit different. So on the character you're playing, click that same button to see what your information has. For example, on the tactician, though, they have a heroic resource called focus. At the start of a battle, they'll begin with a number equal to how many victories they have. Basically, every encounter, or most encounters, will grant you a victory. So the longer we play, the more heroic resource you'll start with in the later encounters. The start of every one of their turns, they gain 1. Every time they use the signature attack, they gain 1. Every time they use their seize the opening power, they gain 1. And then when the battle ends, they lose all their heroic resources. Then you'll see the next button over is their characteristics and their skills. So if the tactician, for example, has a might of 3, agility of 1, endurance of 2, reason of 3, intuition of 1, presence of 2, and skills. And if you click that button, it'll do a test roll for you. So you click that. The test roll is rolling 2d6 in that left-hand field where you see the number 8 that I just rolled. And you'll use that button for any test. So if I tell you to do a agility test, hit that button. Reason test, hit that button. Presence test, hit that button. Because you'll just basically look up above. If you roll a base 8, for example, and it's a might test, then I'd add the 3 for might to get a total of 11. Then you'll see 3 more numbers to the right there. These are if you have any banes or boons. That's kind of like an advantage and disadvantage, except that it stacks. You can have multiple advantages or multiple disadvantages, multiple banes, multiple boons. They offset 1 for 1, so you'll never have both, but you could have more than 1 of each. Then next comes your description, and then your gear, and then your class and race features. Those don't really do any actions for you, but the next thing that you want to look at across the top are all your triggered actions. And there's 2 types of triggered actions. The one that ends with a capital T on the tactician, it's their parry action. You can do that triggered action 1 time per round, not per your turn, per round, and it resets at the top of a round. So if you haven't used it as you're coming to the very last part of the round, you definitely want to think about trying to use that. And every one of you have a triggered resource that's pretty powerful. Hopefully you'll be using them every round. Then the ones that are lowercase t's, like on the tactician, it's chance and grounded, and VP stands for victory plan damage, and victory plan move. Those all don't count against your triggers. It is a trigger, but it doesn't count against the one you can use. Now, some of them you can use over and over when the opportunity presents itself, like chance hits you can do over and over. Grounded for the tactician is every time they get force moved, it's reduced by 1. Victory plan damage for the tactician. These victory plans are special in that you can do those only once per encounter and only one of them per round. So you can do them both in an encounter, but only one of them on any given round. and they get more powerful the later in the adventure you go. So the more victories you have, the more powerful those are going to be. I should stop there and see if anyone has any questions so far.
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. So watch. I mean, click all those, watch all of those. Little tip is you can hold down the Shift key and double click on one of those, and it'll show you the actual formatting of that macro, so you can read kind of what it does without actually triggering it if you want to. And the top right of that screen, you can hit the X and it closes that screen. Okay, then comes your maneuvers. So on every round, on every one, you get one turn per round, and on your turn, you can do one maneuver and one action. And you can trade your action for a second maneuver. So you can do two maneuvers instead of a maneuver and an action. You also have a few maneuvers that are free maneuvers. And taunt on the tactician is one. The lowercase m is for free maneuver. But oftentimes those come with a restriction like once per turn or something like that. They don't count against your maneuver you get. I should click on this real quick for you. The action economy in this game, in your turn, you get an action and maneuver plus any free triggers or free maneuvers that you have. You get a trigger once per round plus any free triggers you have. You can split your movement. If you have movement that comes with your maneuver, just a straight move, your speed is one maneuver. You can split that before or after your action. Then one other cool thing you can do with your movement, or whatever movement you get from a maneuver, is instead of just moving normally, you can actually shift. You can cut your speed in half and shift, and that does not grant anyone whose reach you leave a chance attack. So that's the way to get out of a fight without getting a chance attack on you. You shift away. You gotta only use half your speed to do that. If you move away at your normal speed, then anyone whose reach you leave, they get to take a chance attack on you. Okay, so that's maneuvers. And then you have, after the maneuvers, are your actions. And for the, every class has a basic attack. This is the kind of thing you would do at the end of a charge, or if someone grants you to take a basic attack, or you can just do it anyway if you want to do a basic attack. But basically, they don't normally have any kind of extra effect with them. So this tactician's basic attack, a precise attack, they have a range of 4 with it because the tactician is actually armed, if you look in their gear, with javelins. So they can do their precise attack at range 4. There's some keywords there that might come in with like immunities or resistances. It's going to attack a creature or an object. It's going to do 2d6 plus 5 damage. The 2d6 is rolled separately for the damage from the extra and the extra modifiers, because if you get an 11 or a 12 total on the 2d6, you get a critical hit. And a critical hit lets you take one more action, which you can also downgrade to maneuver. One more action or one more maneuver on your turn. I think you can only do it once per turn, though. You can't do it again if you get crit again. And then again, Bane or Boon dice are there optionally if they need to be used. Damage is not normally typed. You can see there's no definition of damage there, but some things do typed damage, and if they do, they'll be listed. So the talent has Dagger of the Mind, which does psychic damage, and it'll be listed there. Otherwise, it's untyped. Okay, so the B at the end there is for a basic attack on the tactician. There's an S at the end of some of your things. That's a signature attack or signature stratagem. Sometimes they do special things, or sometimes you have a power that grants you the ability to use one of them, or sometimes your heroic resource builds when you use them. So in general, they're better than basic attacks. And then you have finally some things that go off your heroic resource. And you actually have to spend, for the tactician, for example, his focus to do an inspiring attack. He would have to spend 3 of his focus. And it's going to do some extra cool effects, like this one does. A hero within 5 of him can recover. And then Hammer and Anvil is another one. And this is where a basic attack shows up. An ally in 10 of him can target that same creature with a basic attack. So that is it. Any questions on that?
Could you explain charge?
Yeah. So you have actions, and attack is an action. So you don't move at all, you just make an attack. Charge, you move your speed in a straight line. So you could move as a maneuver, and then charge, and basically move your speed again as long as it's in a straight line towards your target. And then at the end, you can make a basic attack, which would be your precise attack for the tactician. Now, this is how we're gonna do initiative here. So initiative goes basically back and forth between your enemies and your group of characters. And what I want you to do is figure out what you want to do in a round, what action, what maneuver you want to do. Once you kind of have your plan formulated, then I want you to hit an initiative button. So if we're in a fight and say some enemy's gone or I'm doing some enemy's action, and you decide, hey, I'm ready to go. I know what I'm going to do. Hit the initiative 1 button. Will tell me that you're ready to go, but you don't care what order you go in. If you hit the initiative 2 button, that tells me you're ready to go and you want to go next. And if there's multiple people with initiative 2s, when I get to the next person in the initiative, then we'll have a discussion on who wants to go first. And hit the initiative 0 button if you are ready, but you definitely want to go as late as you can. And you can change this at any time. So if, early in the fight, you're playing the high elf talent, I know what I'm going to do. Initiative 1, so I'll come in whenever, whenever. I don't care if it's right away. But then all of a sudden, a grouping of monsters gets in a 3x3 group and you want to use your flaying attack. You can just click the initiative 2. So you can change this initiative back and forth at any time. So again, 2, you want to go right away. You're ready and you want to go right away. 1, you're ready, you don't care when you go. And 0, you're ready, you want to go last. Any questions on how that works?
No, but hey, Tom, I've been looking at my character sheet and my tokens while you've been talking. I have been listening, but I noticed a couple things that were different on my token from my character sheet. Which should I be going off of?
What's one thing, for example?
For example, you have recovery 10, and the character sheet PDF that you had linked has recoveries 11 for the conduit.
No, you're right. So we'll just fix that. We'll go with the character sheet.
Okay, and then the other thing is the victory benefits. You have that as a small t, which, if I remember right, was like anytime it triggers multiple times. But on the character sheet, it says you gain each of the following benefits once per encounter, but can use only one per turn.
Right.
So the difference, that make that a big T.
The difference there is
yes.
The small t's means it does not count toward your one trigger use. It might be limited to only one time per round, but for example, on the conduit, you could do a holy infusion and do a victory point resist.
I see what you're saying.
And do a chance attack.
Got it. Okay.
So the chance attacks can happen over and over, don't count. Victory point only one time, doesn't count. Holy infusion only one time, and it uses up your trigger.
I'm tracking now. I'm glad I asked that.
That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question.